Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. During this season of Aquarius, we are hosting a book club while we prepare our literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Silver Flames. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and each week we'll discuss one book from our book club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts. This week, we're discussing Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli.
The views expressed by the hosts are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel. The interpretations presented in this podcast are just a few of many possibilities. Listeners are encouraged to read along and share their own analysis of the text.
Though the hosts speak mostly within the constraints of this book, series spoilers may be discussed with or without warning. Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. If you're enjoying the podcast, check out our Patreon for more exclusive content. You can find us at patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk.
There's like an article I know I want to write for the subtext, and there was like hold on, I just want to like play you the intro of this TikTok. I know this is going to go on the podcast and this has nothing to do, but the TikTok is just the most infuriating thing, and I had to check myself before I wreck myself because her stitches be on, and I'm like, snitches get stitches. Okay, ready?
Bitches get stitches.
Okay, ready?
To all of the people who I do not trust you little bitches on BookTok and your stupid Kindle Unlimited book recommendations talking about this is 5 stars. This is one of the best books I've ever read. Meanwhile, when I was 12 years old, I was reading One Direction fan fiction written by someone whose first language was not English on Wattpad, and it was still better written than half of the shit I'm seeing pushed out on BookTok. I'm going to be the bitch and say it. Some of you need to go back to a high school level literature class because the lack of reading comprehension that I am seeing is scary. Talking about Guild or whatever the fuck it's called is a literary novel.
Okay, listen, Arian Barbie, look at that little, I mean, I'm not going to post her handle because like fuck her, but I want to talk about reading comprehension. Because reading comprehension is your understanding of the text. And anyone can have reading comprehension if you just look at the text and analyze the text. Boom. It'd be reading comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
I think what she's talking about is literacy, which is different than reading comprehension. And as apparently she might be a teacher, English teacher, I would expect her to know better. So I kind of want to do like media literacy versus reading comprehension. And, you know, all you little bitches, apparently, it's just like she goes into it with such like all you little bitches smiling. It's like, and then to reference the people from other countries where English is their second language.
I mean, it's just shitty. I see what she's saying in terms of like, it's like Thea Guanzin writing Star Wars fan fiction. English is her second language. She's phenomenal. And I see that that's what that person is saying. But there's no need to throw shade at people for enjoying reading or writing, regardless of their level of whatever.
There's like 2 levels when it comes to like people who are writing in their second language, where you can go, holy shit, you wrote that in in your second language? That's so impressive. Versus the way that she took it was like, oh my God, even these foreigners are better than you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, again, hence Arian Barbie over here. But anyway, so that's one of the articles that I want to write is like literacy versus comprehension. Because, you know, some of these little bitches out here just don't understand the definition. It has nothing to do with this book. Except we are reading. We are doing media. We're doing comprehension right now. So
yes. I want you to start, if you do record a response video, it's got to start with, well, bitches get stitches. And blah, 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 blah.
This be a stitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Bitches get stitched videos. This is not a threat.
Yeah.
I will see if I stitch. I'm extremely passive. So on starting online beef, I would much rather screen record and then do it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, honestly, why give it your energy?
For views. I'll be honest. For
Yeah.
views and to defend our honor. Because we loved Guild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guild can be literary.
I know. So we're here to talk about another book that's literary, and we got a hands up, tits up. I can go. I feel like I've been making you go first a lot this season.
You have been.
Okay. The truth comes out on the last episode. Let's see. Mainly because this is not part of my 10 words, mainly because I don't remember all of the other books we've read. This might be my favorite from season of Aquarius. Yay.
More than Belladonna?
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not expect that. I thought it would be after Belladonna for you.
I'm surprised too.
I mean, I'm tickled. Some of the most angst and anxiety that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
There was another book last season, maybe last book club that gave me anxiety, but this was anxiety inducing from the start
Yeah.
and never stopped. And I loved every moment of it.
I think part of the reason why I was able to love it is that like you did warn me that it had one of the tropes of like miscommunication tropes. So I was prepared for it, but then she handled it in a way that I loved, and it helps with the level of anxiety. So the way that she crafted things, I don't know, because sometimes like I read a book and there's like a level of anxiety. I'm like, I can't handle this. Currently reading that with an author that we're interviewing, I'm like, this is causing me anxiety. Not that, I mean, that's a great skill, but for me to like adore a book. And I think that Kristen really managed that fine line of anxiety / like, I'm still into, like, I can handle this anxiety. And I think for me it was that miscommunication trope confirmed what it was. And it's like, it was a miscommunication / she didn't pretend like she didn't hear it. I think that would have like made me mad, where if she was like, well, I don't like you. And even though he's like, I didn't know she heard, like if there was like that added layer, but the fact that he knows that she heard, and then so you have him groveling and then her getting to be mad at him. Those are my two favorite things.
Love it.
Those are a woman gets to be mad at a man and he gets to grovel. Ugh, give it to me more.
Well, I'm glad. I saw the miscommunication coming. I think she handled it well. Do I still wish the information had been revealed differently? Maybe. It felt a little tropey.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the only part of the book that I was like, this feels a little tropey.
Yeah. I mean, the wrap up was fast. Like the wrap up was very, all of a sudden he found her. Like, even though there was a lot of setup of like, you're just leaving the door open, anyone can come in. Like, there was so much prep for that. It was very much like he's groveling, she's engaged, and now he caught her. So like for a whole entire book where it's about her trying to avoid him, and then he catches her, I felt like that was kind of happened so off screen and happened.
I think we're talking about two different moments.
Yeah, but I think what I mean by that is that, because I'm eventually getting to your point. I agree with your being tropey. I think it felt more tropey because of how it ended.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like, it is very tropey. It made sense in my head. I'm smelling a lot of my candle.
You're getting high off the fumes.
Kind of. The door's closed and I'm like, will the fire alarm go off if I leave a candle on for too long?
Depends on how much smoke and
no smoke. We're good. Okay.
You're fine.
Yeah. I really felt like I was onto something there. I think it was like two instances of like something back to back. Like, I think we can handle tropes, but then when they're back to back to something, it just kind of like, sticks out. I don't know. You talk to me.
So you're talking about the reveal.
Yeah.
And how, is it Gideon is his name?
Gideon. And then her name is
Rune.
Rune. Right. Because Danon.
It's spelt like rune as in symbols for spells.
And then you're talking about the part where Gideon discovers, or not discovers, where Gideon and like says like, I can't be with her. She was just a lousy lay.
Right, right. I think that was tropey. I actually didn't mind that he discovers her casting room off screen and we only find out about it later. I was actually okay with that
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like from Rune's point of view, she would be so caught up in her head about finding out about Gideon's betrayal that
Mm-hmm.
she would miss the signs because she cared so much about making sure the casting room was never discovered. It would be that one slip up on her part where he would discover it. So to me, it made sense.
Yeah, I think it's funny. You started a conversation, then I was like, let me derail it. And then you're meeting me at what I derailed, and now I'm meeting you at what you said. So, like, eventually our paths will cross. I think because his lie, the miscommunication trope, the like, she was a lousy lay, I think because that was like the catalyst to everything. And that's what sets off the rest of the book in motion.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you have a trope like that, I don't know if I want it played out more, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to figure out what it is that, because it did feel like a very trope moment to me. But again, I love a man suffering and begging for forgiveness. But then I feel like it wrapped up very quickly, which sometimes I feel like doubles more into the trope, if that makes sense. I don't know. Or maybe I'd feel like it'd be more tropey if she dragged it on. I don't know how I feel.
Okay. Well, so why don't we talk about the end of the book later?
No,
Because
okay.
there's more to say about that. Let's just talk
Yeah.
about Rune to start with.
Yeah. Love her.
Why?
I was like, oh, right. We have a podcast. We talk more. I love someone who can manipulate the feminine. And I had this opinion early on in my career when I was working in corporate. And I noticed that people treated me differently because, blonde, big boobs, in my 20s. And my thing was, well, if you want to judge me in a certain way, I will use that to my advantage. So I love someone who can play the dumb, airy girl. And if someone is going to be stupid enough to fall for it, then you deserve to be conned.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I enjoyed. I
Hmm.
enjoyed that Gideon was stupid enough to fall
Yeah.
for it and that he talks himself out of like, well, maybe she's faking it.
Yeah.
And it takes him a long time to actually figure out, the real her before realizing that Rune is the Crimson Moth.
Yeah.
And I liked how much she didn't want to play that part either.
Hmm.
And that she really did desire someone to know the real her.
Yeah. I thought she was one character who is very complex and has layers. And I feel like it doesn't take much for the reader to see that. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of refreshing in a lot of books have these really amazing characters that have all these layers to them, but sometimes they're more subtle and sometimes you have to, read behind the layers. I'll even throw in Akatar and Farah there where you're just like, okay, there's layers. And even Nesta, you might
Mm-hmm.
look at her and be like, she's just a bitch. And it's like, no, there's layers there. And I really appreciated Rune being one where the reader can peel back those layers very
Mm-hmm.
clearly, see what's going on. And I love that she also loved, some of these girly things too. She liked fashion. She still liked these things. So, it wasn't a complete divide between the two sides of her.
Yeah. She certainly embraced both the masculine and the feminine.
Yeah.
It's not the masculine and the feminine that was in conflict. It was the secrecy that was in
Yeah.
conflict.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that about her. Relatedly, I really appreciated the feminine side of Gideon and how
Oh, yeah.
Kristen leans into his like apprenticeship as a tailor under his
Hmm.
parents, that he's willing to sew flowers for Rune. It's so in contrast to his captain of the guard, essentially, persona.
Yeah.
I ate that shit up.
Yeah. It was great. They were great contrasting to each other, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have Rune who, which another thing I absolutely love about her, where she had to turn in her grandma and she had to lie
Mm-hmm.
about it the entire time of, yep, so happy. I'm such a good citizen, burn those witches. And that's something that I feel like you don't always get with these books where sometimes it's like, I would never do that. I'm going to be loyal to you to the very end. And we start off with like, nope, you got to put on this hard mask. And versus Gideon, who can't lie about a damn thing in his life,
Right.
who wears his heart on his sleeves.
Yeah. And that way he's a little bit like Kale. Like his honor dictates all of his actions, all of his interactions.
Yeah.
And he begins to understand, but has a lot of conflict by the end because of who Rune is. He has a hard time understanding that you can have morals and beliefs and still have to hide them for your own safety.
It's funny. I'm happy you brought in Kale because he's kind of a more developed, older version of Kale, but who's more honor driven. Because Kale never went and turned in Selena.
Right.
And Gideon did with her. So I'm like, ooh, that's a good comparison. He's an older guy who knows how to eat a woman out and who, is willing to turn her in.
What more could you want?
You know what? Nothing. When that scene happened, I was like, I thought this was YA.
It is YA.
That's not the YA I had back in the day.
No. Definitely not. Is there anything else about Rune that sticks out to us? So I similarly liked, and it caused me hurt, I think, as much as it caused her hurt when she's like, I know that Gideon is wearing a suit that was made by his parents and it's priceless to him.
Yeah.
And I have to ruin it with wine to cover my ass. And like how much that hurt to do. That hurt me. It hurt me a lot.
Rune was willing to do all the things that she needed to do. And I think that's kind of why I was also surprised about her end decision, where she was like, all right, I call quits. I'm going to go live this happy life, which, shows how much Gideon truly hurt her. But, I loved what we see in books, the gender reversal, where Gideon was the one who was assaulted and was continuously assaulted by the former queen. And she's the one who, kisses him, freaks out that like, oh my God, I forced myself on you. I'm a horrible person. And he's like, no, I got a boner, I swear. And which is kind of what he did was like, it's always the like, do you feel this? Does this feel like I don't want you? And I'm like, okay. And actually, that's like a very annoying thing for me that when I see in books, because that does happen in real life. And this happened to me many times where it's like, I say an emotional thing and then they're like, feel this penis. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, well, actually, you're an extremely emotionally avoidant guy that I am now going to therapy about. So, and that happens a lot in books. So
it does.
It really bugs me every time. But I think that, like you said, like there's a lot of gender reversal here. And there's something to be said if we were to do an analysis of this where things go wrong for Rune when she surrenders into the quote unquote feminine dream of getting engaged and moving somewhere soft and easy, and she gives it all up. And then everything goes bad for her there. There's a lot to say about gender in this book and the dynamics and what it means because, when you read this, you don't initially think about Gideon and think feminine or Rune and think masculine. But it doesn't take much to peel back the layers. That's what I mean when it comes to Kristen's book, which I appreciate, where it's like the layers are there. You do not need to peel back far to see them.
Right. I completely agree. I like what you said, though, about Rune. She is ruthless in a way we don't see a lot of FMCs truly ruthless. And it's not about her being stabby. It's about her doing things that are hard. And if she felt like she had options, she would not do.
Yeah.
But she truly believes she's doing what is best to save innocent people.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means being an asshole, doing shitty things herself. And I love that ruthlessness. And I love that when she loses that ruthlessness, when she wants to set it aside, that's, like you said, when things spin out of control.
Yeah.
Because as tired as she may be having to be ruthless. It's obviously served her. And to give it up is to no longer take herself. I don't know that this is how I want to say it, but she's not taking herself seriously anymore.
No, I agree. She gives up her dreams and her morals. Like, that's the thing
Yeah.
where, look, me personally, you don't have to convince me. I'll go to the other safer side. No, that's not true. I don't know. I feel like I would put up a good fight. But like, everything that we know about Rune until that point is that she's not leaving. She wants to be there. She had no desire to get married unless it was for pure strategic reasons. Even then, she like wasn't really into this idea of marriage. Like, it was never this idea of safety. It was always a means to an end, right? And again, I do applaud Kristen for this because she's not morally gray either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't view Rune as morally gray. I view her as strategic. I view her as making these choices that, like you said, FMCs don't normally make, but it's not done in a way that makes her an anti-hero, I don't think.
Right.
I think we're
Yeah.
still rooting for her, but it is incredible how much she loses the second that she chooses following not her heart, but following safety
Mm-hmm.
and quote unquote gender norms. Because, I mean, what's the brother's name again?
Alex?
Alex, thank you. Because, like, every time Alex was, like, pitching something to her, he's like, we can go to the theater. Don't you love the theater? We can walk. You love walking. Here are all these easy things.
Well, he was appealing to her feminine side,
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like as much as it's like someone who's been told all their life, you want to get married to a man and have babies,
Yeah, yeah.
only for them to end up being queer, but like always feeling like, well, that's what I should be doing. It's kind of the same in my point of view, because I'm equating it to myself. This idea that you enjoy being feminine, you want to be feminine, embrace your femininity. I will give you everything that's feminine. You don't have to be masculine anymore. Is not true to who Rune is.
Yeah.
Right? Despite being her best friend, Alex doesn't seem to understand that.
Yes.
Alex wants to put her in a feminine box because that's where she will be safest. And that's what he wants for her instead of honoring what she wants for herself.
So well said. Rune is one of my favorite examples of women can be more than one thing.
Yeah.
She is neither ultimate feminine, she is neither ultimate masculine. And I don't think women in general are not extremely one or the other. You know, even when you have hyper masculine women, there's still moments of softness. I mean, again, gender is a construct. It's, you know, this masculine femininity, it's all a construct. And I love it when we see characters and women and men in real life, people in real life who balance both, right? And like you get to play with both. And, you know, like even seeing you in your engagement photos and all the outfits that you kind of rotated through where it's all your different sides. And I like to imagine myself as like a fairly girly girl, but like, you know, I wear leggings on the daily, you know, like that's not the most girly girl thing I can do, although maybe it is, I don't know. But it is, I think Rune was the best depiction of that, and Gideon was the only one that balanced it. And even though they never spoke about her being the Crimson Moth or, you know, he had his suspicions, which I love, like, he had his suspicions the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because at one point he was even saying, like, I'd be a little disappointed if she wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It made the game of cat and mouse between them so much more interesting that they both know what's happening without really knowing what's happening and then still being upset about it once they find out that it's real.
Like, damn it, I didn't want this at all.
Yeah.
What a great concept. I think that's where, like, the second that it started, I realized what was happening, I was like, this is one of the best fucking ideas I've ever heard, where she's trying to woo him for a marriage of convenience and use him and get all the stuff, and he's trying to win her over to find out if she's the Crimson Moth. This is how to lose a guy in 10 days. They're both approaching this with two different motives, and then they accidentally fall for each other. And it just makes me so happy because I'm like, you guys are both using one another, and then you're both like, but neither one ever truly loses the about it, which makes them such a great match.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. I do love it. I do love it a lot. Anything else about
Rune.
Gideon
Oh,
or
right.
Rune?
No, done with Rune. Gideon, another complex male character. He is a survivor of assault and abuse, continuous assault and abuse. He is a
Mhm.
survivor. He is someone who makes choices from the trauma he's experienced. He is someone who you're kind of angry with, like, why are you going after all these witches? Not all witches are the same. But then, of course, that doesn't matter. He's going after them anyway. And I just had this other thought about the femininity. We'll come back to the periods later.
Okay.
But I also like this idea of, like, work with me here. So Gideon, from his experience, understands all witches are bad. Witches who killed his family, witches who assaulted him, and his personal experience of all witches are bad. Therefore, he goes and hunts literally a witch hunt. Would that even have been able to happen if it wasn't for the fact that witches are women? Because I think about a lot of the arguments that people, in this world, when a lot of, like, people who are pro ICE, people who are pro this horrible deportation, when they're like, well, we need to get rid of the criminals. And I just want to be like, well, what are we doing with the rapists? Like,
Yeah.
they're like, I'm like, what? Like, oh, we need to go for the criminals. That's why we got to get rid of all the immigrants. And it's like, okay, well, what about rapists? Let's talk there. What are we going to do with them? Are we going to get rid of all the men? Would
Yeah.
love to talk about that. Would love to
Right.
discuss that. And I feel like there's a connection between that and here, where
Yeah.
Gideon was assaulted. And I'm not saying that he is only hunting witches because of his assault, but it's part of the larger problem and the abuse that those witches were inflicting. But because the witches were women, is that why they're able to be as hunted down as they could be? And it just made me
Yeah.
think of that idea of, like, a couple hurt you and those couple were in power, but then do you have to hunt them all?
Right. How do you extrapolate the acts of a few onto the many?
Yeah.
And that's very human question
Mhm.
that we see repeated throughout history.
Yeah.
Anytime there is any sort of genocide
Yeah.
or,
Yep.
violent acts against a specific group of people, because you had one bad experience with one person,
Yeah.
these hundreds, thousands, millions of people then deserve the pain and suffering that you're causing them. And I understand overthrowing a monarchy, right?
Don't I? Don't I? Don't we understand that right now? Fucking overthrow dictators.
Yeah, but perpetuating
Yeah.
the harm, there is no honor in that. And
Mhm.
that's where people like Gideon have lost sight of it, right? And I empathize in the sense that, like, his trauma and his pain has caused him and his family so much irreparable harm. And he
Mhm.
sees that harm reflected in other people. Therefore, he must be the champion and the savior of everybody.
Yeah.
No, it's actually not. We could have held these three queens accountable.
Yeah, like, sometimes violence is required to overthrow, and, like, that's okay. But then to go and hunt down the many is where people go too far. And
Mhm.
Gideon, and being in his mind, I think that I'm always very hyper aware of how sexual abuse is used in a book. And if it's just kind of a plot device, if it's something that we're going to use and then we forget it and we never really mention it again. I feel like sometimes Act of War does that,
Yeah.
where it's kind of occasionally mentioned, and it doesn't have to be mentioned, like, constantly. But Gideon, every choice that he makes, like when he goes back to his old mentor and is like, I think we're going too far. And the mentor reminds him of everything. And then we get Alex's point of view. We hear Rune talks about not being able to be in the house knowing what happened, right? Like, we have his reactions to things, and it makes it completely understandable, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't agree with, like, hunting, an entire group of people just because, some hurt you, like, horrible people horribly hurt you, but it makes it it was a great job from Kristen to take us down that path. And I feel like sometimes male characters can be an accessory to the FMC
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to like, they're busy being like, I'll hunt, I'll burn down the world for you. And it's like, you're kind of moving the plot along in ways. Not here. Not here.
Yeah,
I felt like he was truly his own character.
I completely agree. And what I like about it and where this book left off and where I hope the next book goes is the fact that Gideon has to undergo a lot of healing and change
Yeah.
in order for there to be a happy ending. And it's not
Yeah.
all completely reliant on Rune as the FMC. Like the
Mhm.
MMC has some work to do. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate that Kristen seems like the author that is willing to do that work.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Rune goes off into the sunset, right, goes hiding into the sunset with his abuser.
Mm-hmm.
Oh the complicated emotions there was one part where Rune says, "My queen," and I was, the betrayal. Like that was the first time that I felt betrayed by Rune, but that is her queen. That is the witch queen, and she's supposed to go along with it. And that was also her friend who was not her friend. She's going to discover really quickly, like, oh, wait, I actually don't support this woman. She's horrible. But
Yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I have so many feelings about it. I can understand Gideon's feeling of betrayal. I can
Yeah.
also understand Rune is now trapped. She's
Yeah.
repeating her history of I have no other choices. I have to lean into a disguise that will keep me safe while I figure
Mhm.
out how to make my way in this new
Yeah.
reality.
Yep.
I don't think she has any loyalty to Cressida.
Oh, yeah. I don't think she has loyalty.
I think she's going to be battling from within. And this is me having not read Rebel Witch.
Yeah.
But poor Gideon, man, he's been thrown
Under the bus or
I
just,
mean,
just thrown around.
just thrown around. He feels like, my mother at a young age said, well, when we lived on a farm, to kill the chicken, you grab its head, you wind it up a couple times and then snap it. And then, because they have a second brain further down their neck, they'll keep running.
Yeah. There's like that one chicken. It's just like,
I feel like that's what's happened to Gideon. I feel like he's the chicken.
And I feel like you've traumatized me with too many farm stories and how to neuter a pig and then how to kill a chicken now.
Yeah, for someone who's been a city girl her whole life, I know a lot about farms.
You drop some farm knowledge occasionally and traumatize us all. Yeah, oh my god. But yeah, I know I can see what you're saying. Because there was that one chicken that lived without its head for a while. Yeah. Sorry, I keep imagining you spinning your hand around with a chicken in it. Not on this podcast, not with the Sexy Chicken podcast.
Aw.
With if we have any new listeners and you guys don't know what we're talking about, go listen to season Mist and Fury.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a chicken behind Amy.
Yeah. Winner, chicken dinner.
Hey, well, I need to hang my chicken photo back up, especially for Mist and Fury or Silver Flames. But yeah, it is. I did read the what's coming, in the next book or just the trailer in the back.
Yeah. The first chapter.
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't read the first chapter, just the description of the book. And
okay.
and it was like they're against each other, but then circumstances lead them to have to partner with one another. Oh no, right? And I was like, oh, I knew they were going to have to partner with each other again.
Of
they never
course.
partnered with each other to begin with. Yay!
Yeah.
It did keep me enough on my toes where his partner, who was just keeps go sleep with her, go sleep with her. Did you sleep with her?
Mm-hmm.
Where I was like, there's either something going on with you, or what a great complex moment of another female character that's treating sex and using women with sex and using them to get something else. Like, what an interesting narrative and discussion there. But
Yeah.
to say that gender isn't heavily used here specifically, I would even say more than just gender, but sex, the actual physical body of the reproductive system, where they're being a witch has entirely to do with their period. And I love that. I love it. And it reminds me of all the TikToks where it's like, are you on your period during this full moon? That's your sign that you're a blood witch. And I was like, or it's a sign that my period goes every 28 days.
And it happens to be synced with the moon.
And like, that's kind of how it all has happened. Because if we were to sync up it perfectly every 28 days, we would have the perfect amount of months in the year. And we would never have to do leap year. And then it all would also kind of have to revolve around women's cycles too. But God forbid.
God forbid.
Yeah, I loved it. What about you?
I did too. I love that it's, it's an interesting play on how history has viewed a woman coming into her menstrual cycle as damning.
Yeah.
In the sense of, on one hand, we're going to glorify it because they can now have babies, right?
Yeah.
And that's their purpose. On the other hand, now they're sullied. Now they're impure because they have their period. And in this case, it's not for Rune, it's not oh shit, now if I get assaulted, I might have a baby. It's now oh shit, if I get found out, I'm going to get killed.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting play on the fear that comes with coming into your cycle, coming into that next phase of femininity. I also love that she used it as a source of power.
I loved it.
It was an imperfect power, but it was how she kept herself safe and undetected for so long, and it gave her power. And I think that's fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, to view it being like, hey, your period is your power. The first time you bleed, it's black blood. You do have the stain. But it was only staining when you're hunted, right? Go back 100 years prior while the witches were revered. I'm sure getting your period was a celebration of like, oh fuck yeah, I'm a witch, right? And then like you said, like the fact that it turned into something where she's hunted and then the black blood and then, it's something where it's a signal of potential death. But to use her period blood, to have to collect her period blood, save it, use it sparingly throughout the whole month was one of the most powerful things because you don't get the discussions of periods in books. Like it just doesn't happen. In my book, she's got an IUD. We're just not going to talk about it. But it's very refreshing, I think, to see that.
Yeah. And I think in some weird way, it's also very humanizing because then you think about like, well, what's the process? Because we are used to tampons and pads, but you can't extract the blood from that.
Have you ever used a cup before?
Yeah.
Oh, you have? I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm too scared.
I actually like them, except for when I have to empty it in public. That's when I don't like using it.
That's the thing where it's like, I mean, we're all ladies here, plus the 5 men who listen. On the really heavy days, and if I'm wearing like something that's like long sleeve or a jacket, like I have to go and take my clothes off because like super heavy days where, you like tampon and pad it up and you're just like, you have to double up. I'm even with a tampon, it's still like, oh God, like have to make sure it doesn't go everywhere.
Yeah.
And so with the Diva cup, I'm like, I just get more nervous about it. We'll see one day.
Just like, so this is all TMI. The mechanics of where your toilet is versus where your sink is in your bathroom. Like,
don't you just dump it in the toilet?
Sure, but you're still dealing with a bloody cup that you're going to have to go clean.
Then I guess I just shower?
So anyway.
I just run into the shower. Yeah. No, my toilet to my sink ratio is a very complicated situation.
Yeah. At least I can just turn around and be like, boop.
Boop. Yeah. Hey, ladies, tell us in the comments, in the Spotify comments, what you do with your Diva cup. And if you like your Diva cup at all, maybe one day I'll try it. I'm also like, because I have short hands and a long torso.
You do have tiny fingers.
I have very tiny fingers. We talked about this one time of like, can your hands go down there? And mine can't very well. A long torso and small fingers.
Your anatomy is not conducive to the
No.
Diva Cup life.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we just kind of settled that she's got a Diva Cup hip in there.
Makes sense. But anyway, it's very, like, if you're not taking the time to think about the female anatomy and how does that work,
Yeah.
and the smell of period blood is different, like,
Yeah.
it's very
Consistency. What does she do with the clots?
right, exactly. So to me, it humanizes the character in a way I don't
Yeah.
often think of my characters.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was very powerful.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. All of it was fantastic. Big fan. 10 out of 10, even with the super tropey moment. Again, it's a trope that I can handle because she didn't pretend like she didn't hear. If she had pretended, I was like, I can't handle this. And it just leads it off to like a fantastic next book. I think it's a duology too. I don't think it's
I
gonna
think so. I think so.
eat it up. All right. Well, I forgot to post on social.
Wait, we got more things to talk about.
Oh, we do? Go ahead. Talk to me.
We need to talk about Alex and his death. We need to talk about...
I forgot Alex died.
We need to talk about Cressida.
I'm so sad again.
I was glad. I think he deserved it.
I agreed.
I was also very glad Kristen went there.
Yeah, that she killed him off.
Yeah. I think an author less brave would have allowed him to live.
I agree.
Allowed him to be like comatose.
Yeah.
Or half the human he used to be. Or catatonic, something.
I completely agree. I think it's going to make Gideon and Rune's love dynamic so much more complicated in book 2 because there's going to be this guilt. And I mean, there was already guilt, right? For Gideon of thinking, how is she, like my brother's in love with her. I can't be with her. And then now it's like his dead brother was in love with her. She was engaged to him. She kissed him.
She used his blood to get away from him.
Yeah.
Like, that's a violation Gideon will not be able to handle.
Like, your brother said it was okay.
Yeah, I know. And he's like, how can you prove it?
Yeah. Right. I think Alex was a great example of someone that I didn't like just enough because I never was a hardcore, I hate him, please kill him off. You can see the love that he had for her. He was willing to steal the coin. He was willing to go there. I think the reveal of letting the queen go at the end was a fantastic reveal. I was actually surprised by that.
I was too. But it's incongruent enough with his actions that when it is revealed, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. But it's still a shock because you're led to believe the opposite for so long. I liked him because Rune liked him. I didn't love him.
Yeah.
But because Rune felt so safe with him, despite my disagreement with his approach and how he approached Rune, I understood her love for him and her need to have him in her life. So it was very sad when he died because you're mourning her loss. You're not necessarily mourning him. And you're mourning the pain that Gideon's going to go through because everything was for Alex, to keep Alex safe.
Yeah.
But did he deserve to die? Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
The whole time I was just like, damn it, Kristen, how are you going to make it okay for Alex isn't going to give Rune up.
No.
Alex is going to betray Rune if you let her leave him for Gideon. And he's a bit of a little pushy asshole. So I was really glad. I was sad. I was sad, but I was glad.
You're like, oh, thank God, another one bites the dust.
One obstacle out of the way.
But he's an obstacle that was out of the way that only provides another obstacle.
Yeah.
Which is
I love
chef's kiss with that. It is great because of how safe Rune felt with him. And he did do enough things to actually protect her, to when she got her period for the first time, when he took care of her. I mean, I love it because I feel like we all have, whether we've been that person or we know that person who is like, he's like a brother. I'm going to crawl into his bed and he's going to cuddle me. It's not like that. It's platonic. You know, like whether we've been that person or we know someone, it's hilarious because it's like, oh, you dumb hoe.
Yeah,
But
stop lying to yourself.
I know. But even in that moment when they kiss, there's that slight bit of attraction in there with her too, where she was like, there's a slight, she was like, it's not as much as Gideon. I can work with this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I respected that too, because
I
his
do
death
too.
is also, there was potential. Like she realized at the end, there is potential. And he never should have pushed her to leave. He never should have pushed her to not be her best version of herself, which is going and saving people. And his own desire was his downfall too.
Right. Yeah. I really respected the pragmatism in Rune to say, I recognize I'm not as attracted to Alex as I am Gideon, but I recognize that there is enough there that I can work with it.
I know.
Because
Yeah.
her relationships were always going to be about convenience.
Yep.
Right? And that remains true in this case too.
She's like,
And
I could be horny for you.
yeah, I could learn. I could learn to be horny for you.
Yeah.
And that's why the attraction to Gideon is so strong, because there's, in theory, it's practical, but it's risky.
Yeah.
There really truly is no practicality in it. Yeah. Good job, Kristen.
Good job. Yeah. He was a great kill him off character. And, you know,
but you don't expect it.
yeah, you know, like having a character's death is a lot of times a plot device. Sometimes I'm okay with it. Sometimes I'm not. This is one where I am 100% okay with it.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. He wasn't meant to survive. And I'm okay with that.
He wasn't evolving the way that Rune and Gideon were starting to evolve.
Yep. And that's like, if you get left behind, you become a character that's worth killing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. So what was the other? Yeah, there was another one. Cressida.
What's her name when she's in disguise as the
Begins
friend?
with an S.
I thought it began with an L. Oh, no, we're both wrong. Verity. Verity. So it's so funny. Halfway through the book, I was like, you know what? Everyone's so rich except Verity in terms of like character, not money. But I was like, she's so flat. Kristen, like, you really let yourself down with this character. Oh, okay. Now I know why.
Yeah. Good call. It was a great, subtle character who I do feel like was enough of a friend. Like there is a betrayal there too.
Oh,
And, you know, like there was moments where she was a good friend to her. She was someone who was like, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to, oh, you want to go marry Alex? I want that for you. You deserve this. And whether that was an act or not, I mean, how interesting would that be if she decides to make Cressida someone who actually is also like not just pure evil, but someone who's like, well, I did care for you. You were like a sister to me, but also, you know, still a psycho assaulting bitch.
Yeah.
That would be fascinating what she decides to do.
Yeah, I can't wait to read Rebel Witch because I have no idea how she's going to handle it.
Yeah.
Because there was what felt like sincerity from Verity in her relationship with both Alex and Rune. It does make me wonder, to what extent did Alex know Verity was Cressida? And I don't think that we have an answer to that.
Yeah, not at all. I hadn't even thought of that. I was like, she fooled them all. Like Alex didn't even know. But what if Alex did open the door for her to be there?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be very interesting. I mean, even I thought at one point Gideon's partner was Cressida because of how much she was trying to get him to sleep with her, where it felt very much like potentially this evil person who would assault him being like, go sleep with her. Go sleep with her. Do it. And then versus Verity, who was like, oh, Gideon's on your list. He wasn't on our list before. It's like, well, he wasn't really someone who would like we thought of. And then she was like, oh, okay. She played the part well.
She did. She really, really did. It makes me like so curious to find out who she is, even though at the end of the day, I think she's bad because of what she's done to Gideon. I want to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't really figure it out until I wondered. Actually, yeah, it was a good twist and reveal that I didn't see coming until right before it's like,
We didn't see it coming until Kristen decided to see it coming. It
yeah,
wasn't until we got the major clue of she doesn't actually live in the dorm. Like, that's the thing where it's like, we didn't get it until, like, I mean, I don't know when you figured it out, but, like, you know, like, all of a sudden, there was some glaring moments where
yeah,
Verity's clearly lying about something.
right, right. I figured it out just before that, and I can't remember what it was. I did wonder about it when the pillar of fire happened at the
Yeah,
big dinner thing, because
same.
I was like, Verity was there. Where did Verity go? But I assumed that the brand on Gideon, because she said it was a curse, I thought it
Yeah.
was the curse activating. I don't
Ooh,
know why, because it
interesting,
was like
interesting.
it detects his love for her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did start to suspect. And then I thought about the fact that, like, oh, one of the first times Rune sees Verity at the opera
Mhm.
at the early part of the book, she makes a comment that that was my dress from last season that Verity added sleeves to, and little things like that to cover her arms, because that's where all of her marks would be. She's always got sleeves.
Oh. Because she probably continued to do magic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because even though she was in a new body, she kept magic going just to keep the illusion going the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Good call. Good call.
So I think there were enough clues, but they
Yeah.
were so subtle that I think Kristen did a really good job with that reveal.
Yeah. Good call. Yeah, it was a good betrayal
Mm-hmm.
and it was very purposeful. I want to know, has Kristen written other books? I'm going to have to pull this up anyway.
Let me see. Yeah.
I'd be interested to read her other books.
Yeah.
All right. So, understandably, there's over 386,000 reviews on there,
Mm-hmm.
or ratings, over 56,800 reviews, and it's rated a 4.17. All right, I'm going to read some 1 stars
Okay.
just so we can argue with them. DNF 43%. My little toe had more chemistry with the foot of my bed than whatever those two had. Really?
What?
They were hot for each other from the get-go. Someone wrote, a menstrual cup would have been a game changer for her. She had it in a vial.
Yeah. How else would she have collected it?
I think that person thinks that, like, she would just reach under and start using her blood. Here's a longer 1 star. Isn't the point of art to tame the monster in us? ARC provided NetGalley, trigger warning, blah, blah, blah. This was one of the most anticipated reads of 2024, and I am devastated to be rating it low. Blah, 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 blah. I'm unsure how much to say without accidentally giving too much away, which means I'm reducing vague. Okay. First, I want to say that this should not have been a YA novel. It felt new adult. It felt like it had been written for a new adult audience, and the timeline simply doesn't make sense if all of the characters are in YA age range. I will be shelving it as NA despite the new adult. Okay, that's fair. I don't feel like it's YA either, but I don't
I
think that's a
agree.
Kristen fault. That's probably a publisher fault.
Publisher's fault.
Yeah, that's also not like a 1 star. Okay. Anyway, beyond that, still trying to stay as vague as possible, I was bothered by the entire plot. So much of the premise revolves around sexual assault victim being pressured into sleeping with someone to properly inspect their body. While this is met with discomfort, it's still a sizable portion of the book and never truly condemned. I think what's interesting is that a man who was forced to be sexually assaulted is now using sex. Like, he was used and now he has to use someone. And I think that's a complicated dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand if someone is triggered by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's complex because he is not handled with kid gloves the way a woman who is a survivor of sexual assault might be.
Yeah.
right? He's
I don't want to say
expected.
kid gloves, but I think
Sorry, not kid gloves, but he's not considered fragile.
yeah, there's like a certain men in society have this suck it up attitude.
Right,
Like
right,
you don't talk about your emotions. You don't. Yeah.
right. Where I would consider Gideon very fragile. I would consider
Yeah.
him very needed to be treated delicately, and he's not. And what he's willing to put himself through and sacrifice of his own sanity for
Yeah.
the sake of his honor and killing witches, I think that's a complex
Yeah.
question
Yep.
and concept. And it really shows how much he is willing to give of himself for what he thinks is the greater good.
Yes.
I can understand it be very triggering and not being very palatable. I thought it was a great,
Yeah.
complex question.
And I think what, the reviewer said something about like he isn't condemned through it. Well, no, because the only people who know about it is the one other person pressuring him, but he's condemning himself the whole way through.
Yeah.
He hates it. Okay, this one is kind of funny. It's a 1-star. Blood magic plus witches plus witch hunter, and she uses period blood to cast spells. There's an open door scene, and they say the F word several times. Not appropriate for YA. They say the F
Tell
word,
me you're
Amy.
conservative.
I know. That's really funny. I mean, if someone is truly looking for YA, so here's like a larger question. Can YA have sex scenes? And do you have to say, absolutely, you can't have, and even though there was more detail, it wasn't super detail. It was more detailed than a lot of like YA than I've read, but there's no like, and then I parted her lips, like it was still vague enough that I had to like rewind a couple times, be like, does she just come? Like I was, I couldn't like, what just happened? So if this is going to be YA, to me, it didn't read YA. YA is usually much faster pace. There's more coming of age element to it.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I have a soapbox that I'm
Yeah.
climbing on right now.
Let me get comfy.
So I knew people growing up who refused to allow anything to do with homosexuality. Even the word gay, lesbian, homosexual was not allowed within the vicinity of their children.
Yeah.
To prevent them from possibly becoming homosexual. And I remember another friend, these are people associated with my conservative background, right? I remember when Goblet of Fire came out, and my friend's aunt read it first and then told her mother, you can't let her read it. Somebody dies in this.
Oh.
And there's dark magic involved. And I'm just like, you can't shield. If a young adult, AKA a teenager, wants to go have sex, they're going to go have sex. It doesn't matter how much you shield sex
Yeah.
from them in the media that they consume. If you want to keep your child away from death, I'm sorry, death happens all the time.
Yeah.
And killing is not great, but just watch the news. Like,
I know.
there's only so much you can protect people from, and why not have it be part of the conversation that you talk to them about rather than keeping it from them only for them to resent you about it later or not understand why you kept it hidden. Do I think this is dark and more sexually explicit than YA books I read growing up? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
However, if I had found this at the age of 14, I would have eaten this shit up. This is the kind of stuff I was reading online anyway.
Well, I was going to say, was this the most, if you were to compare this to what you read as a 14-year-old, was this the most explicit thing you were reading?
No.
That's the thing.
I was reading NC-17 rated Buffy Spike fan fiction online.
I had Lime level, it was, we're reading much filthier things. Like, that's the funny thing is like, if your child is reading something, they are reading much filthier things online. And it's just, you'd want to have a healthy conversation around it. Now, I understand that there are some people who they do not want anything to do with sex in their books. Like they don't want anything explicit. And, fair enough. To blame it because it's YA, I don't think that's the move. There was someone who commented on one of our videos on TikTok who was like, do you guys cover any books that aren't explicit? And it was us talking about Throne of Glass. And I wrote, yeah, I was like, there's some YA books that we talk about. And then I was like, Throne of Glass isn't spicy or explicit. But I think this person considered it to be so because of the closet scene with Kale and Selena and probably whatever.
Which doesn't happen till Crown of Midnight.
Yeah. But like everyone has their degrees of spicy.
Yeah.
And it's so complicated because, I think, remember at least Kova,
yeah.
thank you, who we interviewed.
Yeah.
We talked about not having spice in books, and she said like, well, there's just some readers who don't want it at all.
Yeah.
And hers were closed door.
Yeah.
But she was saying that some people even view hers as like
too spicy.
And, who am I to say if someone is, like, that's too spicy for you? Like, babe, there's so much more spice, which may be true, but I'm not here to condemn someone who doesn't see that. But to mark it as 1 star because of it is like, then that book wasn't for you.
Yeah. I think, like, I don't know if there were trigger warnings because I don't have a physical copy of the book. But look, I think people are allowed to avoid whatever they want to avoid.
Yeah.
I think that in a world where we have the internet, I think you can't expect to not stumble across it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you and I are very sex positive on this podcast, so it's just kind of like the more you harbor sex, the more you are just making it a big deal out of it. My mom was very sex positive when I was a teenager, and I had no desire at the time to have sex. But I think that was probably because my mom was so sex positive, so that by the time I was actually ready, I was ready. And it was always going to be about what I wanted. Like, it was never going to be about anything less than that. So, we have, would you say your household was sex positive?
No.
Okay. I mean, sometimes you'll say things about like what your parents would say, and I'm like, that's so not Mormon of them. And then other times they'll be like, okay, there it is.
No, they weren't. They didn't condemn it. Talking about the birds and the bees was uncomfortable for them. I accidentally walked in on them several times throughout my life, which was scarring.
But like, there's difference between not talking about it and sex positive and then condemning it. There's levels.
Right. I mean, it was you don't do it till you're married. We're not going to talk about it. One time when I was 16, my mother was like, you're at an age where if you do it, please just like have him wear a condom or something.
Yeah.
One time throughout my life. And anytime I tried to talk about like masturbating, she's like, blah, 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 I don't want to hear it, blah, 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 blah. Like,
meanwhile, my mom slid a photo of a naked man to me and was like, take it to your room if you want. Do whatever you want with it. Like,
yeah.
what,
I mean,
mother?
My awkwardness around intimacy is because of my parents, because they never allowed it to be part of the conversation.
Whoa, I had a thought and it just flittered the fuck away. Oh, I also wonder, let me know if you want this in or out, because this might be too personal, but a certain level of comfort, because you came out as bi to them around teenage years. So I bet they're like, haha, we don't have to worry about a penis for at least a little while, or no?
No, they're too religious for that.
Oh.
They're like, what did I do wrong? I mean, even when I came out again in my 30s, my mom had to go through a period of like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
To raise my child this way, because she's always said she wanted to get married and have kids and be married to a man. And I was just like, you don't think that was performative?
Yeah.
You don't think I was brainwashed?
Yeah.
I can say things and not mean them.
I mean, and that's like the story of the oldest child too, right? Of like half the life as being performative, of having to be the perfect oldest so that you can take care of the rest of the siblings. We just got into it with.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
What? So Gideon and Amy have a lot in common.
I think so, though. I mean,
I really identified with him, not in the sexual assault way, but in the carrying burdens no one asked you to carry.
That's fair. that's absolutely fair. I think Gideon is one of my favorite MMCs. And
Yeah, I think so
not
too.
book boyfriend. Like, he's not my, like, I want to date him, like the way that you and
Right.
I fought over Raven, I think, for One
Yeah,
Dark Window.
yeah.
Like, he's mine. But, like, I think Gideon as an MMC is just one of my favorite characters, period.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities with Kale. There's a lot of similarities with you. And you're my favorite character. So there's a fair amount of, like, I was perusing some of the 1-stars. There's a disturbing amount of people who talk about the period blood. And a lot of them are
Grow
women.
up.
Huh? I know. And they're women. And I think what this book does, I feel like if people were being honest about some of the things that they don't like about the book, I'm not assuming this is every person, but you know, people who are talking about the period blood and maybe even the sex, is internalized hatred for women that
Yeah.
even women have. And
Yeah.
I feel like this book celebrates not just women, but the concept of femininity, the concept
Mhm.
of gender, of it not being necessarily just male, female, but also celebrating, you know, the reproductive system of females. Like, I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of celebration of that and having to get down and dirty with it. And the fact that I
Mhm.
was perusing so many 1-stars and the amount of women, they're like, period blood, period blood, period blood. I'm like, that is internalized misogyny. That is internalized. You guys are just really hating this. And I didn't tell you this. So go ahead, keep going.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was going to say, I feel sorry for those people because to
Yeah.
what extent do you hate yourself
Yeah.
if you can't even stand period blood in
I
a
know.
book?
I know, right? I would hate to be you when and during your period. By the time I got my period, my dad was alive for like 6 months after that. But it was mainly like my mom and I, so it was never a shameful thing. And then when I was first major corporate job, I was like, why am I hiding a tampon to go to the bathroom? Like, I'm gonna just walk with it. And I was like, during Christmas, I was with my mom and her husband was there. And then my uncle came over and I had really bad cramps. So I was just kind of propped up in the corner. And my mom was like, oh, Jack's not feeling well. And I was like, say it what it is. I'm on my period. I have really bad cramps. And she just kind of was like, oh. And I was like, they've had wives. They
Yeah.
have daughters. And I said that. I was like, they have wives, they have daughters. Like, they, you know, like, do you think that they don't know about
what it
periods?
is?
Yeah. And both of them were like, yeah, we're familiar. Like,
Yeah.
we
Like,
know.
anybody who needs to have the female condition hidden from them
Yeah.
doesn't deserve to be around women. Like,
No.
doesn't deserve our time.
And we're a fucking joy.
Like, yeah, periods fucking suck. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean they're shameful.
And that is like, when we think about how unbelievably badass periods are, where you are shedding blood in a painful way, in a, like, sometimes a disturbing amount. We don't even talk about the diarrhea that comes with it. We don't talk about like the lightheadedness that can come with it, the pain. And yet, you know, I'm going to the gym and I'm going to squat
Yeah.
through it, or I'm going to be doing, you know, you have to keep
Yeah.
living life.
And you know what? Men could never.
No, because I know this because they have, you know, those like TENS machines that they put on men and they put it on them at the gym and they're like, great, now squat.
Yeah.
Great. Now do your workout. And that's not even including the like the actual feeling of like you do one wrong squat or move and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it just all gushed out.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's I'm happy there's more places that have free tampons out. I'm surprised Disney has it. I didn't know until I needed it. If you're ever at Disneyland and you're at the tail end of your period and you need to shake out the last little bit of blood, just go on Matterhorn. It does it every time. Sometimes too well. Yeah, I think that periods should be absolutely celebrated and it's not shameful. And I think this book did a good job of it, and it's holding a mirror to women
And society.
and society. Yeah. You know what? I'm about to start my period tomorrow, and I'm like, I need to remember this raw energy before I start bitching about like, you just came off of yours.
I'm finishing up mine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, okay, I need to like keep this vibe up while I shit, like change everything. And I'm like, motherfucker. Sometimes it's just so bad. And you're like, I'm just going into the shower. I can't even right now.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right. On that note, I hope our 5 male listeners really enjoyed this. You guys, I want you guys to comment on our Spotify saying, here, proud period ally. Okay. Thank you for listening to this episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. Stick around for a special episode this Thursday. Next week, we'll be discussing listener thoughts about all things ACOTAR ahead of our Silver Flames season.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our forum at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. And don't forget to join us by subscribing to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com to get more insights into the romantasy and romance genre.
Bye.
Bye.